Hi everyone, my name is Nathan Reed, and this is my MVC project assignment for CSI 250, Rich Internet Applications. So what I've done is create a photo gallery app with a little bit of a twist. It's a little bit different than what we did in class. Let's go ahead and boot it up. It doesn't look all that special at this point. But if I click on an image, I get that specific user's gallery, and that's done dynamically. The other difference is that instead of using a database stored image as a binary blob, I've used file system store. And I have to do a little bit of tweaking with the image URLs. But the bonus to doing it this way is that if a user decides they want to use a different photo hosting service, Facebook, Dropbox, things like that, potentially they could use an actual internet URL instead of the local URL. And that saves on site overhead, saves on our site bandwidth. So instead of us sending the picture to them through our service, there's a reference to an external URL, and we don't get the hit to bandwidth. So let's do some other stuff. Let's submit some art, and instead of me, now this is very Spartan. This is done by user ID because I am intending to implement identity at some point, so ultimately I want this to look different. Choose a user ID, go to book covers, Dutched. There we go. Open that up. File uploaded successfully. Now if I go back to my index, we have another image. This one is from another user, Bob's gallery, so we only get Bob's pictures. User Jake. Now Jake has no pictures, so Jake has no images here on the index page. Let's look at how all this is working. So we have our HTTP GET method for the submit art, for getting the art. Here is our post method, overloaded with user ID, the file which they upload, and the description string. Here is the voodoo. It's not really voodoo, but basically because there's some wonkiness with how image paths are stored, say, in Windows, and how they need to be presented in HTML, we need to split with the backslash and then create a new path, which is the relative path for the image name. And then we, using entity, get to save that. Well, not much the same, but there's the post method for a new user, using, again, entity framework. And then there is no post method for gallery, it's just a get. We get the image URL. I was originally going to have a table, and indeed do have a table for galleries in my entity framework and in my database. However, I realized that I don't need it. I can do this 100% dynamically because every image URL is also associated with a user ID. So in my utility methods, I can get a username by ID, I can get an image URL by image ID, I can get image URL by user ID, and I can get a user ID by image URL. And that comes in very handy for the gallery. Because we know, due to how I'm passing the URL to the gallery, we know what the image URL is, therefore we can find out what the user ID is and populate a gallery just with that user's pictures exclusively based on nothing but the URL that we pass the gallery view. That utility class is coming very handy, by the way. Again, we're setting view data for image URL and username. We're getting the user ID from the image URL. We also have to split that one because for some reason, and I'm not sure why, it adds a parentheses to the end of the URL. Notice we click on that guy right there. That's being generated. So that has to be taken off in order for the image to display properly. Here's my project entity with its table entities, which came in very handy. You'll notice that I do have class models, but when I rolled my ADO.NET Entity Data Model, it became unnecessary to have them. If we go to, say, new user, you'll see I'm using the table user entity, not the class model. The same goes for the submit art. And again, gallery has ended up unused because it's unneeded. Things that I learned in this project to end with, I had assumed, because I wanted to auto-increment on my primary keys in my database, I had assumed that if I dropped the database and recreated it, that I could use the same connection string and everything. That did not turn out to be the case, and it broke my project. It broke it horribly. However, fortunately, just recreating the entity data model fixed that problem. It's named the same as it was, and everything came back, all the methods associated with it, its correct context class came back with it. So, lessons learned. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.